can buy the world! Welcome back to FoolCraft on the Craftinomical server. And yes, we've got paid. This is what I got for the our devious plan from last time. I think it's close to $700. So that's very nice. I can buy the world. We also got this book from the bank saying thanks for the stuff that you gave, and now donations are changing to go through a vending machine, so you just put the items in and you get money straight away, so that's cool. And saying, oh, we paid you extra because of your clever deviousness, but but don't try that kind of trick again. It won't fly. So yes, we can't be devious anymore to get money, but I'm sure I'll think of something. I have done a bunch of stuff again since last time. There's a few more machines, like this soul binder, another alloy smelter, etc. Capacitor bank. I also upgraded this void ore miner to level 2 and made a botanic one as well. Mainly I did that to get mangrove, because I want to build with it. So there's that, and what else? I built these weird gadgets. They load chunks. They load chunks so that things still keep running while I'm away. I think this is new. Put in these mechanical users that automatically harvest these when they grow, and then this picks them up and they get put in here. I also put this in. It's easy tree farm. At the beginning, the bonsai pot, you put a sapling in and then it drops various items without power. It's really useful. If you put a fruit tree in it, it'll give you the fruit as well, so that's cool. And I also set up a little system to make infinite grains of infiniteness. I can't remember what they're called for Ender IO. For setting bedrock on fire. Put flints and steels in this dispenser, and then set this piece of bedrock on fire, and the observer will detect when the fire dies, and then trigger the dispenser, and this hopper will pick any bits of grains of infinity up. I've actually copied this from Etho. It's pretty good. I initially tried using a mechanical user with flint and steels, doing it the modded way, but it's really not as good, because the mechanical user, unless you're setting up a redstone signal clock thing to send it anyway, it'll just keep using the flint and steel the whole time, and so they get used up much faster, and you end up with way fewer grains of infinity. So that setup is the easiest, powerless way to do it. I have also put protection 4 on all of my armor. I upgraded my flying gem to have recharge and capacity 4, so now it can hold a lot more charge, and when I'm not using it, it recharges itself, which is really good. And then I made this Enderium Paxel and put some enchantments on it. It's pretty good. There's loads more fancy stuff you can do, I just haven't looked into it yet. And I also discovered today that these tokens, these enchantment tokens, I thought you could only use them on Silence Gems stuff, but you can actually use it on other stuff as well. If I do that, I get protection 1 on the iron chestplate. So that's really useful, because they're generally a much cheaper way to get enchantments. Which is just a little tip, if you didn't already know that, which maybe everyone in the world does apart from me. Who knows? I have also massively increased our power generation. Here, this is the ultimate level. They produce twice as much power as these, and yes. The reason it's split up like this is because this power is going directly to the void ore miner, and this is going to everything else so that it can suck all of the power out of here and still not be shutting down my other machines, because that was a problem before. The next thing is that I finally did some building. Ta-da! It's this thing here. Obviously, I didn't really have an idea for a style to build in, so I pretty much just copied the town municipal building style, but used a different color, and I think it looks pretty good. It's not done, but that's the basic shape, and I think it'll do just fine. It'd be kind of cool to have a fountain under here, actually. It would be better if the entrance was here for that, but anyway. So the next step really is to start getting the mechanics done, because well, I need to know that before I can start building up here. And I realized that obviously all the wiring for that will have to be here, so all of this stuff will be moved down or redone, which is actually what needs to happen. Everything needs redoing. So I guess what I'll start with this episode is clearing out what I can here and starting to set up the mechanics. So I've got supplies in here. These are all the saplings. I'm pretty sure these are all the crops. I'm pretty sure, and here's some machines to go with them. And my devious mind comes into play again. I figured out a much cheaper way to make this stuff. So the main issue with the flux phytogrow is that you need rich slag for it. Here, this is the better this is a better recipe, I would say, because this is the expensive ingredient, and here you get 16 from 1 instead of 4. So these are fairly easy to automate. The rich slag you get from induction smelting ores with sand or cinnabar. Basically a finite resource. Last season I used the void ore miner to continually feed ores into it. But I think I found a better way to do it, which is this recipe here. You can put sand and a clock in an induction smelter, and you get 4 gold back. Guess what you can do with 4 gold? You can make a clock if you add redstone. So, the percentage here is only 20% compared to, say, 75% for this. However, I think this is far and away the easiest way to go. Basically all I'm doing is paying sand and feeding in redstone, which is super cheap, to keep on getting slag. You just send the gold into a crafter, turn it into a clock, and then send it back through again. I think that sounds like a genius idea. So I'm gonna do that, and I'll probably set up a system to also process these ores that have a really high percentage, because that'll give me a little bit extra. So that's the plan for that. There's gonna be a whole chain of machines, but that should work. And this flux phytogrow is what goes in the phytogenic insulators to give you the crops. It's really good. So yes, that is what I will be doing. I realize I may not have explained perfectly. I'm sort of assuming prior knowledge, but the idea with a supermarket is that it'll sell all of these crops and it'll self-replenish automatically, so I don't have to do it manually, which is why I've got the machines constantly making the crops and piping them in. That's the idea, and then selling them for loads of money so I can buy 2 worlds. And now, a moment I have been waiting for so long, since the beginning of last season actually. We can make conduits, Ender.io conduits. Oh, so amazing. Yes. And we want fluid conduits, and let's go the enhanced energy conduits. they're just so much better than the I think they're so much better than the item ducts, because they can occupy the same space, they can occupy the same block, like this, and they can therefore connect to the same side of a machine, and they are configurable a lot more easily. So yes, I love them, and we didn't have them on the Revelation server, so I'm gonna make up for lost time now. I changed my mind. I decided to go somewhere else to set up this tech because it takes a lot of space and I was feeling a bit cramped underneath that supermarket, but also there's going to be a lot of machines running, and Spawn Town is kind of a hotspot anyway, so anything we can do to keep the lag down is a good thing. So I've claimed this area. It's not that far out of town. It's these lavender fields, which are really pretty anyway, so I'm gonna build under them and never look at them. Okay, so our purpose here is many-fold. We need the system of phytogenic insulators producing the crops, throwing them in an ender chest and transporting them to the supermarket. And then we need the system that will make the fertilizer for that, which is a whole other bag of cats. The first thing I'm gonna do is set up the phytogenic insulators. I'm going to use the same setup for this that I used last season when I built the supermarket, mainly because it took me a long time to work out the best way to do it, slash the way I wanted to do it, so I'm just going to do that again. This is to make sure that the crops are made evenly. So let's see, it's 2 space. Now all of these need water and power feeding into them, which is why I brought, oh it's here, the sink and this. The fluid pipes are all in now for the water, so that's good. And then let's get the power in. Now I might need to up my power production for this, but we'll see. Let's see, where's the... There we go. Those cables should be able to transfer enough power either way. And now we can just put them along these, and we don't have to connect them to a different side. It's amazing. The logistics last season were complicated because each cable had to be connected to a different side, and there was a limited number of sides. And now these are all filling. Amazing. And again, looks like that's fast. That should be fast enough to keep up. These are all already full. That was pretty quick, so as long as power production can keep up with that, then I guess what I can do is I'll do that, and then this will act as an extra buffer for maybe like nighttime. This won't be running all of the time, but just in case, that can be there for nighttime, and then the power will get pulled from there. Okay, the next thing is, I think, actually I should maybe move these back one. If I turn all these around, like to face this way, then I can just pull all of the products out of the back here. Yeah. Next thing to do is to set up the feed for the fertilizer, so we can do that to put on input on the top like all of these other things. the next thing to do is to set up the seeds. So the way this works is there's one of each seed in these droppers, and then a redstone pulse gets sent along to them, and so it picks a random one and puts it up in here. And then when this has finished, you'll have the crop and some seeds left, and you want one of those seeds to go back in here, the rest of them to get trashed, and the actual fruits, grains or whatever, to be collected. So I think I might need one of these limited item filters, or I can use the thermal, is it the thermal dynamics? The item ducts. These ones that I was trying to get away from, because they have, you can put filters on them at the end, these ones here, where you can limit the number of items. And I think you probably need one of the higher tier ones will give you that option to limit the number. Might still be cheaper than this, which requires an advanced item filter, which I'm pretty sure has been made more expensive again. Ender IO, ugh. Each one needs a C-Logic controller. There's a zombie head for each one. And Stellarium, but the zombie head is the issue because I've got no easy way of getting them at the moment, apart from hacking at zombies myself. Well, I've checked it out, and the limited item filter will do that after a bit of fiddling around. It wasn't immediately obvious. It will do that, but it does mean the whole zombie head thing. And I have come up with a much cheaper way to do it, which is just to fill these with seeds. So instead of having one of each type, you have 64 of each, and then when you pull the seeds out, you tell them to go into here and then into another chest and set this as a higher priority, and then it'll put one back in here, and the rest in a dump chest. The reason this needs to be the same number the whole time is because if say you had one of each seed and then you get 3 back, then there's an increased chance of that one getting picked again, and then you just get more and more and more of the same crop, and it snowballs. Scratch that last part. This is me overcomplicating as usual. I was just assuming that a dropper, it's sort of a per item randomness, so if you have more of one, they've got a higher chance. But it actually just picks one slot random, so it genuinely doesn't matter if there's different numbers of seeds. So that makes this a lot simpler, because I can just tell it to send all of the seeds in here, and then when that is full, somewhere else. So that's what I'm gonna do. Yes! My life is saved! We do this, and I've set all of the these machines to output both slots at the back, and we should be able to decide easy enough where what goes just by using filters. I'm out of cable. So once again, I've hit upon a filter issue. We need to be able to tell this to only accept crops and not seeds or saplings. So I tried using a filter. This should be insert. Just a basic item filter because they're cheap. But you could only match metadata. So there's not enough space to, say, blacklist all of the different seeds and saplings. If there was like an OR dictionary thing, then we could, or the NBT data might work as well, but that comes with the advanced filter, and again, that's just so expensive now, I don't really want to use it. So we're gonna change this up slightly. I'm gonna set this specifically to output the seeds on one side and the crops on another side. So like, I guess, yellow and then red. Yeah, that works. So then we can color code these. So we say this side is extracting on brown, and this side is extracting on green, the default. Yeah, and then these can join up like this. But then we just say, what did I say here? That's brown, and the back is yellow, which is a seed. So the crops are being extracted on green, and so then we just connect this up and say insert only on green, and that way only the things that were extracted on green, i.e. the crops, will be inserted on green. And I think that's a very sneaky way to get around having to use a more complicated filter. So I will be setting that up now. I will eventually be trashing all of the extra seeds and saplings, but until I'm sure that this is set up perfectly, I won't. So this is now set to accept seeds. It'll fill up quick, but it's just for testing. And this is where the crops go. This will be the on-off switch. So when we power it, this clock turns off. And let's change it to 20 seconds. 20 times 20. I don't know quite how long these take to run, but it's just meant to be it's meant to send a pulse often enough that this isn't waiting for a new seed, but it also doesn't need to be flashing the whole time. So I think I can change that, but I think 20 seconds is maybe a bit much. It's alright for now. Ooh, now the problem is that's gonna fill with something, and then it'll double up in a crop. Actually, I think we can probably just fill the rest of it with junk items. So that just means that this will be a little bit slower because there'll be the occasional time where it doesn't do anything. I guess I could speed this up because no harm is done really if it's trying to trigger this dropper when there's still something processing here. It's just the lag from the redstone I'm thinking about. So, and lastly, we're probably already way out of time. I just want to highlight the change I've made to this farm. I swapped out that other crafter for this tier 3 crafter here. Now all of the recipes are in here. So all people have to do is harvest the crops and put them in here, and it will make the dough and everything automatically. Salt and water still come from here. I don't know if people really want to use it, but just if they do, it is now easier than ever. And that will be it for this episode. See you next time.